your navigation or nav bar. So I'm going to start you off. I think what's beneficial since you've been using, let's go all the way through the tabs and go through every single one so you know functionality.
Okay.
Does that work? Okay. So the first one you're going to see is your home tab. The home tab is going to be your default tab. And once you have your own account, it's going to say welcome and your name. Underneath it, this blue box is set directly by your admin. So this is reserved. It's also found on the student's page on their messages for any announcements, your mission statement, or anything to acclimate or welcome the students to the site. Now notice underneath that, your home page is broken up into 3 different parts. You're going to have your messages, your action box, and assignment alert. Your main thing if you're using, let's say for example, all Odysseyware users should be aware of 2 things. The first, under messaging, if it is active, there's no such thing as student-to-student messages. So students can only message their teachers, not other students. And messages stay or live on Odysseyware. Now, if you take a look at the screen, this shortcut is only going to give you activity or highlight from messages that you receive from other users, so other students or teachers, or if you have any results or activity from your account. So if you were to enroll a student, it's going to show you all of those enrollment statuses in your messages so you can track what you've done.
Cool.
Now, take a look at the screen. It is intuitive. So if you click on a message, it's going to display that shortcut on the screen for you. You can reply from here, close it out, or archive it. Now, messaging is fairly easy on Odysseyware, but remember, it's not going to speak out to any Gmail. You have to log on to get access to messaging.
Okay.
Any questions on messaging?
Nope. No.
Excellent. Let me know if I'm going too quickly, too. I just want to make sure I go through all the features with you.
Okay, thank you.
I pretty quickly, but I can slow down and adjust the pace for you as well.
Okay. You're good.
Now, the next thing you're going to see is assignment alert. This page right here is displayed as a shortcut. Now, with your assignment alert, this is not necessarily the page you want to go to for student management. This page is just to alert you. Let's say, for example, if you had students go on a vacation or if they had a day off, so you can check and see any activity that was received or completed from their account.
Okay.
Notice it's going to list the, if you hover over it, it'll show you what those icons mean. So L would be a lesson, Q would be a quiz, AT, alternate test, T you'll see is a test as well. It's going to give you the student name, down to the course name, the unit, the title of that assignment, the date, and the activity. Notice your activity will correspond to the legend above, but the main thing you're going to see here in your assignment alert shortcut is that it's highlighting work or activity from the past 30 days. Now, if you're on this screen and you ever see bolded text, notice that's what we call our active link. And if you click, it'll take you directly to the student gradebook. So I just clicked on it there. It's going to show you that actual assignment in the teacher gradebook, and we'll get to that as soon as we get to that tab.
Okay.
Any questions on how to get to that side?
No.
So I'm just going to go back to previous. Now, before going to the next, I also want to highlight with your homepage, notice these are also active links. So you're going to see the actions, new messages, or assignment alert. If you click on those links above, it's going to navigate you on the nav bar and take you directly to the main tab. Notice I clicked on assignment alert. It took me over to the assignment alerts main page. And this right here, it'll show you progress like we said. We had updates. It used to be 7 days. We've extended that so you can see past due or anything that they did within the last 30 days or month out of work.
Okay.
Now, if you're doing one of those searches, notice you would set your fields or parameters at the top. You can search for all students depending on your level. Notice anywhere you see a white box, you can search and filter for information. So I just put it past 30 days. If I were to search by any student who received a score of a 0, and let's say I wanted to see on unit number 3, I can enter that into the field, press enter, and now notice the system will prompt a grade lookup search, and I'll see 37 students within the past 30 days received a score of a 0 on Unit 3.
Okay.
So recommend using this as at a glance if you need to quickly look up what's going on with your students or any activity that they had thus far. Now moving over, I'm going to go back to your homepage for just a second. Now with Odysseyware grades 97% of the work for all teachers. Now for daily management, as a best practice, your home tab is your default tab, and the reason why, we give you everything you need on this page. For example, notice this box here is going to be the most important box on your Odysseyware. This is the main box that you're going to utilize and clear every single day for management. For example, let's say if there's anything required from a teacher, meaning something they have to grade or anything they have to do manually on Odysseyware, it's going to alert them in their actions box. As a daily best practice, we ask that you check and clear out your actions box every single time that you log on. And we say that for two different reasons. The first reason is that they can pile up quickly. The second is that if you leave your actions unchecked, you're not clearing out your daily assignments, your admin can see that, and you're blocking students from progressing on the program. Any questions on your actions box so far?
No, ma'am.
Excellent. So you'll see, just to clear it out, all you're doing is going to show you the student name, title, and the action. You'll click on the actual assignment or action. It'll route you over to the gradebook. We notice that this user, Nylan Dunn, her pretest was blocked. So all we have to do is uncheck that box, and that will now remove that action. And notice if we go back, that action was cleared. Now, let's say, for example, you cleared out your actions box and you forgot what you did. One of the latest updates we have at the top would be by clicking on your action. So if you click on that link action, it's going to route you over to the gradebook to what we call your actions inbox. So what your actions inbox is, it's going to be a summary of every single action or alert that you received on your action page. And notice it's going to separate it and show you via the student name, the subject, the course, the unit, or the assignment. You can also look to the right and see the status of how you marked it or changed it. Notice in your actions box, you can mark it unread if you want to get back to it later, or put it back on your actions alert on the home page. Or you can mark it as read, meaning that you completed that action and you're finished with it. Now, the good thing about this update, this is the latest edition for the gradebook, and the actions box is serving as a checks and balances. So notice, let's say, for example, you cleared out your actions, took a phone call, you came back, and you forgot what you did. That can't happen, right? Well, if it did, I forget all the time. So if it did, you can go over to the gradebook or home, click on actions like we did before, and notice now I can change it from anything read, or I can see my unread messages as well. So I can start and see everything that I did for action. So I'm going to stop a second. Any questions so far? How are you guys doing?
We're good. No, ma'am. Good.
Now, has this been something that you used so far?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Dover says she figured that out last week.
I'm a week too late. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Well, that is some people prefer to manage from the gradebook, and the reason why that's great is because your action box will tell you everything that you need to do, and, you know, we want it to be user-friendly, so I'm glad that you have that action.
Okay.
Now, moving over, school settings and teacher admin, these two are going to be admin-exclusive tabs. Now, being that you guys, I'm not sure if any of you are under that level. Would you like me to go through those tabs and what's housed in there?
Yes, please. I especially have a question about, so I believe that our courses that we currently have in there and the content that we push out to students, I believe that needs to be updated. I don't know how old it is, very old. And so I need to specifically know how to give content area teachers access so that they can go in and edit the courses that are in there and the content that we push out to students to make sure that it is aligned to what they are currently teaching.
Excellent. So that's exactly what those two tabs serve for. So let's go through those tabs.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to ask the question. So they have you set up as a super teacher. Will you need to be changed over to have admin permissions? Because the only way you can update it is if you are an admin.
I think I would probably be the one to handle all of that aspect of it. And then Ms. Stover is going to handle just the day-to-day between what is assigned to the student and then whether or not the student is completing the work and progressing. I will be the one to make sure that I can assign, create teachers in the system, see what courses they're creating, that kind of thing.
Excellent. Okay, so let's dive into your school settings. So the first thing I'm going to highlight, under your school settings, I'm showing you on my demo site, notice this is where you're going to go for several items. The first, if you were up to your school name, this is where you can change it. Notice at the top right corner, this is how it displays. It'll match what you type in your setting.
Okay.
The next thing this is for your time zone. Your welcome message was that message in blue that I showed you on the home page. I'll show you that over here.
Yes.
Whatever you update there will display right here on your home tab and for your students and their messages. So let me move back over to your school settings. The next thing you're going to see is we also allow you to align the standards document. If you're on your side, notice it's just going to have South Carolina's checked because we sync it to your state.
Yes.
Once you update that, you'll save it. So moving over, the next thing I want to highlight, since we're talking about admin settings, you're going into a new school year. Now, we always recommend that you guys look at your grading, pacing, and assessment. So meaning any past thresholds from last year, looking at what was set for a minimum of passing for students and how many attempts. Usually, that may change from year to year, or you may want to update it depending on your student population. Now, in your admin settings, you'll set that universally for the site. However, an admin can grant permission to a user, meaning any teacher, to update it on the student level. So what does that mean? So let's say, for example, you guys set it universally, but you have a new student. Let's say that student's name is Johnny, and Johnny had an IEP where he had unlimited attempts on a test or a lesson. As an admin, you can grant a teacher permission, and they can update those attempts and the thresholds per that student so you can meet the requirements of that actual IEP.
Okay.
Now, when you get to yours, I just want to highlight the first one is the CRX pass threshold. This one we recommend that you place differently from your lesson pass threshold. We always recommend you do it at least 10 points higher because on Odysseyware, if you put it in the CRX or what we call the credit recovery mode, that means the students will automatically have a pre-test in the beginning of every unit, and whatever they master will be omitted. So it's assuming they took it before, and they have to score an 80 or higher, so 10 points higher from what you have from your threshold, because it's omitting or taking off the content.
Okay.
Any questions there?
No, I don't think so.
And are you guys currently using the CRX mode?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. So now I'm going to move over to permissions. Permissions will show you the global permissions that you have for each user. And then after I finish here, I'll also show you how to update it per each teacher. Now, the first one you're going to see is the global permissions. And on my demo site, I allow messaging. If you did not want messaging to occur with your students, all you have to do is uncheck that box. The next one will highlight student notes. So if you want them to have notes where they can click on the side and digitally type in and basically paste themselves and write data, you would leave that checked. Going down, you're going to see grading permissions. Now, if, let's say, for example, you're facilitating or teaching those courses, coming in, if this icon is turned on, you're going to have an action that says blank essay submitted. What that means is giving you a notification whenever a student turns in an item that is blank or they did not type anything in purposely.
Okay, I can do it.
With it turned off, it just won't give you the notification, so you'll just have to click on it manually if anything is blank for a student.
Okay.
Now, underneath, these are going to be the basic teacher permissions. With your basic teacher permissions, the first one it's going to say is change password. The next one is change grading, pacing, and assessment. So at the universal level, by checking this, you're allowing them to update those thresholds and weights, just like I spoke about, per the student level. Now, even though you check it here, you're allowing it for everyone. You can still decide whether you want to provide it to each user, and that will be done separately as well.
Okay.
Excellent. Now, skip questions and manage groups we recommend for all teachers. That allows them to skip or unskip individual questions based on if it's too rigorous or if, let's say, for example, it's opposite or the student has already done that in the classroom. Now, I'm going to scroll down. Just going to talk about your student permissions. The first one you're going to see is the student review test or quiz. We recommend this one because it allows students to review their graded tests and quizzes without showing the answers, so I can see what they did so far. The next one is the answer key. We do not recommend this one because we know today's population of students, they will hand it out or do whatever they need to get ahead.
Oh, yes.
I had a student that was selling it, you know, like the PayPal, how it has a swipe on your phone?
Yes.
I had a student, so I was covering a teacher's class, and I seen him go to the back every day, and he was like swiping on the phone. I'm like, what is he doing? So to find out, he was covering students selling the answers and making $15 per answer from the student.
Oh my gosh.
I had one today. I noticed he kept looking back at me every few seconds, and I was like, okay, I'm going to act like I don't see him. And what he was doing, there was an app for math.
Oh, yeah.
You take the picture of the problem, and it'll tell you the answer.
Yeah.
So then he failed. So I said, help me understand how you fail a test when you cheated. I said, now take your cell phone and put it back there on the shelf.
Yeah. Actually try to work the problem.
Yes.
That's called instant karma. That's hilarious.
Yes, exactly.
It's so much effort in
How
the
you
cheating.
fail
If you just
and you
studied
cheated.
and you would have got exactly. Oh man. So the next one you have is one that we do recommend, and this is Enable Grading View. And what this one does, it'll allow students who have not reached the pass threshold, so who have not passed it, to basically view their performance, what they got correct or incorrect, without giving them the answer. So they'll be able to review it. They can see it'll say, hey, it has an X or a check mark, so they know they got that one correct, but it's not going to show them the right answer.
Gotcha.
Going down, the next one you're going to see is change password and overdue notification. Now, with the overdue notification turned on, that's just specifically for pacing. It's going to show you the due date. It'll let them know when it's overdue. If you turn it off, it's just not going to display that, so they'll just see when the due dates are. But the benefit of having it on is that they can work beyond the due dates, but it allows them to see deadlines and realistic goals.
Okay.
Any questions on those?
No, ma'am.
Now, the last one you're going to see is our spelling and grammar tool and our scoring guide. So if you've been managing the program so far and there's something for you to grade, notice, we'll go through this in the grade book, you'll see items where you have, let's say, a writing suggestion or it gives you topic agreement. It basically works to function similar to a rubric where it'll provide information on what should be included in the answer and what you should look for once grading the student's coursework.
Okay.
Now, how many campuses are you guys currently using Odysseyware for?
I mean, what?
Campuses, just our campus here at Broome.
Okay, so you don't need to worry about your campus ID. If you had multiple sites sharing, that would be awesome for your campus ID. Or if you want to separate your subject areas that are on Odysseyware, you can do that as well.
It looks
The
like that
benefit of
might
adding a
be,
campus-
yeah, it looks like that might be what has happened in the past. there are campus IDs set up here. Can we get rid of those, or?
They say 0.
Absolutely. So if you are using them, or if they're on there, all you're going to have to do is go into school settings, go to campus ID, and delete out the ones that are there. And it'll take it away where you don't see it.
Okay.
And like I said, most people just use it so they can keep the data separate from other places on the school's URL. So if I only wanted to see, let's say, for example, information for my campus, I could do that and separate it. Usually something that's like a district-wide implementation, it's easier to monitor it by school. But if it's one school, it doesn't really benefit you unless you're trying to separate your subject areas and you need your data to be concrete and separated.
Okay.
Now, moving over, I just want to talk quickly about your archive. Now, this is something, if you're on your end of the site, that we updated and we asked you to update as well. In the past, we gave you a default of 200 days. We now give you a user grace period of a full calendar year. So once you get on, and let's say we change you over to admin settings, update it to 365. And what this means is, let's say if you archive a student, we only recommend you archive them if they graduate or you know for sure they're not coming back, because after 365 days, you're not going to have access to their records.
Okay.
But just an FYI, print out any enrollment, or let's say, for example, grade reports that you have. Detailed student grading report is a good one. But also, on day 364, and you did not hear this from me, you can go into the system and reset it again, and that'll give you an additional year, just an FYI.
Okay.
We didn't hear that from you.
But you didn't hear it. Exactly. So it just gives you a way to extend it, and they haven't figured that out yet, so the good thing of it, it benefits you.
Okay.
But what I have found, if you ever lose data, and let's say, for example, you can't find it, absolutely not, then contact me, and I can see if we can have one of our web tech gurus go through to try to locate it for you.
Okay. It actually did just let me change that to 365.
Excellent. So moving over, I'm just going to ask the question, are you able, or do you know how to update your terms, or do you want me to skip this portion?
We did that. We can do that.
Excellent. Look at you guys. Wonderful. And your calendar goes alongside with your terms. And if there's a non-school day where you don't want work to be due on the system, you'll just click on that day and it'll remove it for you. So notice I clicked on it, it just says no school. And that just allows you to shift the workflow so students don't have work due on those days.
Okay.
Now, user associations are different. That's for our NWEA partnership, so you're not going to see that on theirs if you don't have it. So I'm going to move over to teacher admin.
Okay.
Now, teacher admin, am I going too fast?
No, you're fine.
Do you ladies need a break?
No, we're good.
We're good.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're okay. I'm a human, I understand. So moving over, teacher admin, this is where you're going to add new users to the system, depending on the level, if they're a teacher or an admin on the site. Notice, to create a user, you'll go to the right under Create Teacher Admin. This is where you'll fill in everywhere that there's an asterisk. So you'll fill in their first name, last name, username, which is case sensitive, password, and you'll repeat the password. All passwords are a minimum of 6 characters, and they are also case sensitive. So your username is case sensitive, and any password you create has to be a minimum of 6 characters, and it's case sensitive as well.
Okay.
Now, you would repeat that. Notice you can click on Force Change so that user can add in their own password. But underneath, this is the most important box you want to see. When adding in a user, you want to ensure that you're changing their user level to support which role they will be highlighting on the site. So, for example, if they're an admin, you would list them as an admin. Super teacher, the difference between the two is that super teachers can see all students on the site, and teachers can only see students that are enrolled in a course under them. So most districts make all users super teachers to make it easy, but it's definitely a preference on how you want your site to function.
Okay. So that I can change that if I go into edit. Okay. You are in as an admin, Ms. Dover. Okay.
Excellent. Absolutely. Now, scrolling down, I'm still in here because notice where it says change grading, pacing, and assessment. Now, we set it universally on my site to give teachers that ability. If there's a single teacher that you don't want to have it, all you have to do is uncheck that box and they can't manipulate the pacing or assessment grade.
Okay, great. We might have one or two. We won't do that too.
Trust me, if they have it, teachers love to explore. It's fun, right? You're like, I have it. Let's see what this does.
Yes.
So moving over, So I just want to show you, if you change it to super teacher, notice that their actual fields were changed based on what they have permission for.
Okay.
The first one we recommend that you give for everybody, we ask you to enable the dashboard view. This we're going to get to before we finish. It's a great new feature. It allows them to do student conferences, and I'll show you the information. So allow them to have the dashboard view.
Okay.
Now, the next one, student maintenance, we do not recommend for teachers that's taking students out of the system. Adding students would be up to you depending on that user. Adding a parent profile is one that we recommend because that allows them to set up any parent or guardian into the site. Now remember, if you are adding the parent profile, that just means it's going to grant that user view-only access to student monitoring or progress.
Okay.
So they can only view their grades and, let's say, for example, their progress and what they turned in or did not. They do not have access to the coursework.
Okay.
Some districts use that and assign it to any teachers that need to see what's going on, or for a counselor that doesn't really need to do anything in the system. But hey, you know, they need access just to take a peek.
Admin.
Now, the next one you're going to see is depending on if you're allowing teachers to assign courses or not, this is where you're going to select that actual permission.
Okay.
Underneath, notice where it says create edit courses. This goes back to your question. This will allow them to create and edit any courses that were custom or any courses on the site if you need to update them or, you know, promote the newer version.
Okay.
Now go down. The next one you're going to see is manage student groups. We recommend this one for teachers. It just allows them to group their students in higher level, lower level groups, or create groups with their students for whichever way or usage as needed.
Okay.
Any questions on your teacher field?
No.
Excellent. So to save that or keep that information in, you'll click on save. That'll save that user's information and add them to the field. Notice on your catalog, I just want to highlight to the left, this will allow you to select any user or all users. To the right, this is what we call the online column. Notice with your online column, you're going to have a grayed out snowman. You guys see that little gray snowman?
Yes.
If you hover over it, it's going to let you know that user status. If they're offline, it's going to be gray. But if that user is up in at the moment, it's going to light up the color blue.
Okay.
Now, if it's blue, it's going to allow you, let's say, for example, for the student side, it's beneficial because it allows you to log a user off if they're not focused or if their internet is slow. You, by clicking on the icon, can log off that user if it's blue and activated.
Okay.
Most teachers use it on the student end for, let's say, for example, behavior modification. So if I have a student that's on, he's acting up, I can log him off. It'll freeze the screen on the student side until they do one mouse click, and then it returns them back to the main or sign-in page.
Okay.
Now, the next I want to highlight, you can search anywhere you see these white boxes, so search via the username. Notice you can also change it by clicking on this little arrow to ascending or descending order. To the right of this, notice under your controls, you can edit their information, or you can look at any enrollment that that teacher has. So any courses that they are the teacher of record on. Any questions on your teacher admin?
No.
Excellent. So moving over to the next, you're going to see your student page, and it functions exactly the same as your teacher admin. However, there are a slight few differences. Notice the first is how you're uploading students. If you're uploading them individually, you'll utilize Create Student. You'll see that single record, just like we saw before for teachers, and you can save that in. I'm going to close that. If you are adding more than one student, we recommend going to Import Students. You'll click on the bolded text. That'll allow you to download the template. Once you download the template, you would copy and paste up data in the field. Notice starting from row 2, their first name, user. Leave the fields blank that you don't use. You would save it. And then what you would do is add it like you're adding an attachment on an email and click on Next.
Okay.
That'll filter and populate up to 500 students at a time.
Awesome.
But do not use it if you're using it for one student, 2 students. It's a waste of time where you could just do it, via adding in one field.
Gotcha.
So if you have more than 2, we recommend using it.
Okay.
Anything else is just adding more work for you.
Okay.
Now, the next thing I want to highlight, on the student's page, you can always disable or enable login if you have that permission. But one of the benefits from the student page is that this is really where people go for management. So a lot of teachers like using the student roster page because it allows you to see what's going on with their coursework. For example, let's say I wanted to see the student field here. If you click on Go To, this will allow you to go to assignment alert for that particular student. So if I click on course enrollment, it's going to take me to course enrollment for this particular student. So it pulls up the record for you. Now I'm going to go back one more. Notice it'll also allow you to see the grade book for that student or anything that you need to grade or any actions required for that particular student. Any questions there?
Nope. No.
So the next thing I'd want to highlight, as a teacher, you also have the ability to manage student groups. Let's say, for example, you're using a higher level or lower level group. You can click on the group icon. Once you're on the group icon, you can click on Add New Group. This will allow you to name the group, provide a description. Underneath, you can search for students by typing in their name. It'll filter to anyone that has that name. You can add it by the plus sign or add multiple by selecting the box. Scroll down, click on Add to Group. Once you save that information, it'll save your group. And a benefit of using group is that it will allow you to do a back enrollment if you need to. And it also allows users to print out records for that particular group. Any questions on adding a group? Notice a lot of people like to add their courses as groups. So let's say, for example, if I have first period, it's Algebra 1. The benefit of that, I can just add in any new students to that group and do a batch enrollment and enroll them all at one time so they're all taking the same course.
Okay.
Any questions there?
No, I think we're good.
Mm-mm.
Excellent. So now let's move over. Now the parent tab, this is the one I told you about that has view only. So if you're asking for anyone that wants to view their progress, so a mentor, maybe it's a big sister or a parent, a guardian, or a counselor, anyone that needs access to their records but as a view only access. So not accessing the coursework where they can only see, right, what's going on as far as their progress. The beauty of that is that all you need are 3 things for this. So if you create a parent profile, you'll click on the Parents tab, click on Create Parent Profile. That's where you'll enter that user's first name, last name, and their username is their email address, and that's how they'll log in or sign into the program. Your next step is to find their student or students. Once you have it, notice you'll click on the name, click on Add. It'll highlight their information, and you'll click on save. Once you save it, it's going to say send confirmation. It'll then send an email outside of the server to that user, and it's going to tell them, welcome to your, Broome High School's Odysseyware program. Please understand to monitor your student's progress. This is how you'll log into the system. It walks them through it step by step. It'll tell them to set their password. And after that, it's going to ask them to confirm their student. Let's say, for example, that user never logged in or checked that email. Notice on the main site, so on that main tab for parent, you can go back to the one that says confirm. And if you ever see unconfirmed, that means they never even set up the account.
Okay.
Excellent. So you can also edit, reset their password, or resend the confirmation. Any questions on your parent profile?
No, ma'am.
No.
Are you guys currently using it now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, most people, like I said, just use it optionally if there's someone that needs to see progress. But it's not something that's a necessity. You may have a different route of contacting your students, which is okay also. So now, do you guys need to go for course enrollment?
No, we got that.
Yeah, I think we're okay on that.
Excellent. And I know I'm moving fast. I'm trying to be cognizant of your time and get everything out so things are thorough. So let's move over to your gradebook. Any questions on your gradebook or how it functions? Do you need me to go through those tabs and set up for you?
No, we're okay on that.
Excellent. So now let's move over to courses. Now, are you guys currently, so you said you have custom courses that you have on the system.
We
So
do.
I'll walk you through your course setup, and then we'll talk about how to customize and edit and update those courses.
Okay.
So the first thing you're going to see, under your course tab, notice that you're going to have a view for 5 different features. The first, under all, this will allow you to see all of the courses on the system. All standard will allow you to see all courses linked to a state standard. Custom will be any courses created from anyone on your URL. And my courses correspond to courses that were created by me. Now, to the right of this, any archived courses are courses that you created and tossed in the trash.
Okay.
Any questions on those for so far?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So now, with these, we recommend leave it on all. Now, the first thing I want to highlight, in Odysseyware, you can search via the subject or by the course name or by author. So I want to talk about your author. The first thing, in the system, if you ever see the author's name is NA, that means it's an Odysseyware original course. If you copied the course or manipulated it in any way, you're going to see a name under the author. So that's the first step. Now, when viewing your course, notice if you search by subject, these terms link directly to your searchable terms under your course enrollment. So the same way you're enrolling in classes is the same way that you would do a search for a course, meaning it's by subject. So if you type in English, this will show you all your English courses. Keep in mind, anything that says English 300 going to 800, take off the zeros. It just corresponds to the grade level. And I'll show you an example. I'm sorry, I have all of the states on mine because I cater to all states. But yours, you'll just see yours. So notice here, notice how it says 400. So that'll be equivalent to 4th grade.
Okay.
Notice how it says NA. This shows you it's an Odysseyware original course.
Okay.
To view those courses, you'll just go to the right, click on the eyeball. That'll allow you to preview any course for the class. I can also click on the lesson. That'll show me the lesson if I want to project it overhead. Any questions there?
I think we're okay.
Excellent. Now, the next thing I want to highlight, if you're searching for math, keyword will be math. Science, your keyword is science. Social studies is listed under history. You also have access to your CTE courses where your keyword is career. You have over 80 plus courses there. You have access to electives So that'll include anything foreign language and PE. You'll type in elective. And you also have access to test prep, so any GED or ACT prep. You can type in test. And one of the ones that most districts utilize for remediation is what we call SPARK. So if you type in SPARK, SPARK are the skill-based courses for English and math that are prescriptive, so it helps students build to get on grade level. So those courses start from kindergarten going all the way to 8th grade for English and math, and they are skill-based based on the standard or skills they should know for that grade level. So notice if I go to the eyeball, it'll display what's inside of that course. They have a pre-test, it'll teach them the skill, they'll have a post-test, and repeat the process. Any questions on SPARK?
So did you say that goes up to 8th grade level?
Yes. So it goes to 8th grade. It starts at kindergarten level, and it can be utilized for any student at any level. Okay. We know, let's say, for example, they're 10th grade, they may be at a 5th grade level in reading. Right. So those courses help them while they're taking the core classes to bring their levels up and remediate. So where they're still deficient, you're filling in those learning gaps.
That's wonderful.
The only thing we recommend if you're using Spark, and this is a personal recommendation, I would recommend copying the course by clicking on the double pages. If you copy it, we just recommend rename it. So start your Spark, maybe instead of saying kindergarten, have it say level 1, going all the way up to level 8 or 9. Because usually people leave it on level K and students can figure out, hey, that's kindergarten. Or if it says grade 5, you know that's grade 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Just want to avoid the pushback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, any questions on searching for your courses?
No.
Now, I do want to show you this. If you're editing any course, notice you'll just go over to the right where it has the pencil. Click on Edit. This will allow you to update any existing course, and we'll talk about this in just a moment. Now, I want to go back and show you one more thing before we go to customization, and that is your search tool. Notice at the top of the page, if you click on Search, this will allow you to search the content in full. Notice it's going to start, you can search curriculum, custom, topic, or by standard. So if I search the curriculum, I can click on the course I want, click on the arrow. It'll take me into the courses available. I can click on the arrow again. This will take you to the unit. I can flag a unit if I wanted to, or I can click on the star. That'll save my search path. So if I went to the restroom or to lunch and came back, click on the star, it'll show me exactly how I got to where I was.
Now, I do have a question about that. Our standards have recently changed. How often is this updated and how quickly?
It should be updated right away. So if it's changed, look forward to the new updates. It should be on your site already. If not, within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Great question. Now, notice you can also, what I like about this one, if you flag a unit or lesson, it's linked directly to customization. You can place it into your course that you're building. Or the benefit of this search feature, you have a keyword search. Let's say I'm looking for something, let's say fraction. I can type in fraction. This will pull up anything in the system that I have related to what I typed in. Notice if I click on the advanced find filter, this will allow me to cater it to the grade level. So if I'm looking just for 5th grade fraction, notice now it'll filter it to 5th grade.
Okay.
I can also hit via the subject. So if I only want to see, why am I looking at English? I'm sorry. It's Friday. So if I want to see mathematics, I can search it there. And I can also filter down where I'm only seeing lessons. So the benefit of that, if you're working or projecting anything on the board, you can search it in that search field and project the lessons to the class and do it together. So if you needed additional practice or wanted to work with the student.
Okay.
Any questions there?
No.
Now, this search field is linked directly to customization. You can customize 2 ways on Odysseyware. So you can copy an existing course, or you can create one from scratch. The only difference between these two is if you copy, you're starting with actual content in your course. So I'm just going to show you. You have to make sure it has a unique name. It's just like Microsoft Word. No 2 courses can have the same exact name. So let's say, for example, I am creating a course. If I created it from scratch, everything under Create Course would be gone. So that would just be blank. If I copied, notice they just have the courses that I listed in here, and now I can edit or work with this information. Now, if you're creating a course and you want it to be able to be listed or placed in the CRX mode, you have to turn it on here to even present that option on enrollment. So your first step, if you want it to be able to be placed in the credit recovery mode, you have to turn it on here. Now, with your course, notice you can drag and drop. You can delete out lessons if you wanted to, or units. You can add in a unit by clicking on Add Unit. Or if I click on Search, it'll take me directly to that search field that we just spoke about. So I can add in content from anywhere in Odysseyware, or I can even look at the flag of any unit that I flagged or saved for later.
Okay.
My internet is a tad bit slow. I apologize for the delay. Once it loads, it's really taking a long time, sorry.
It's okay.
Once it loads, select your unit or units by hitting Control, scroll to the bottom, click Add Selected. So I'll do this one. Let's say if I wanted just that one. Add Selected. Notice now that unit will be placed into my course.
Cool.
If at any point you ever see that dancing W, that just means that the internet is running a little bit slow, and that's what's taking it time to generate the content.
Okay.
So notice now that course is here. I can also edit the name or delete out a unit if I didn't want it. So if I didn't want this one, I can remove it. It's going to ask me, now it's gone. Now to look inside of the unit, you're just clicking on that actual triangle, and now the same thing applies. I can add new lessons, or I can add an assessment, meaning a quiz or test if I wanted to. With lessons, I can search from what I have in Odysseyware, or I can add my own that I created by myself. If you create your own, please keep in mind you can add YouTube videos. You can add, let's say, for example, I'm just going to show you what we have available. If you're creating your own lesson, notice you can format it. You can add pictures. You can add charts. You can add movies. You can add flash, media. You can add embedded code. Or you can also just do or type in so you can place it from the internet. So there's multiple ways to add in content for your lesson.
Cool.
You can also attach or copy what's already created into the field just by clicking on Choose File. In order to save a lesson, you have to have a question, so at least one, so it goes into your testing. Any questions on creating a lesson?
No.
Now, if you're in here, notice if you're adding an assessment, I do want to show you this. So if I'm adding a quiz, let's say I wanted to name it Quiz 1. I'm going to say the type, I just want a regular quiz. If I click on Create, it's going to automatically build that quiz based on what sits above it. So if I preview it, notice it's going to have questions from the lesson above. So that is why we have a flex feature. With that turned on, if I add, it's going to basically build my quiz based on anything that sits above it. So now notice I added another. So now it's going to have career and the other one both on my quiz. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now the same thing applies. Let's say, for example, if I wanted to, let's say, move it up or delete a lesson out, it's going to take that lesson off. So it'll function and build those assessments for you. To the right, I can also skip a lesson out by default. What that means, it'll be on the student's actual course learning path, but it'll be active as skipped until you assign it to them.
Okay.
So most people use that as a placeholder, maybe extra credit, or something they want to get to, but they build it inside the course, so it's optional. The eyeball will allow you to preview it, and the actual trash can will allow you to remove that information. When you're finished building or updating a course, You can preview the entire course by clicking on the eyeball. This will allow you to look at every lesson inside of your actual unit. I'm going to close that out in a second. Your next step is to validate. This will go through and check and see that everything lines up and makes sense. So you have a test after every quiz if you're in the CRX mode. It'll show you if there's any errors, and it'll tell you what's wrong with it. I'm going to close it out. And your last step is to publish, and that will publish your course. Any questions on creating a custom course?
No, I don't think so.
Excellent. So now there is one more thing I want to highlight, and it's our newest feature for Odysseyware, and that is the dashboard. So under reports, you still have your curriculum reports, which will show you the standards documents and alignment. Notice here, if you wanted your curriculum report, you would select the report that you wanted. You would select the standard document that you're looking for. So depending on your state standard, it'll be listed in the box. You'll select which one. The subject, you'll also select your grade discipline. And once you run the report, it'll show you how the coverage is ran, and you'll see where national or state standards are listed. Now, moving to the right, actually your left, notice it's also going to show you the traditional reports that we have on the system. So to the left is our menu of reports that I'm scrolling next to. At the bottom, it's going to show you the detailed name and description on what that report covers. Keep in mind, if you generate a report, it's going to run 3 different ways. You can have it as a web page, a PDF, or you can also have it as an Excel spreadsheet. If it's something you want to modify, notice that you would modify it in Excel. Any questions there?
I don't think so.
Now, the last one, which is that latest update I spoke about, this is your dashboard. So your dashboard has admin controls if you want to view it via the campus, or if you want to view it by teacher. Now, notice a teacher can set it to show only their students. Scrolling down, the first thing you're going to see is the assignment completion. Now, what this represents is any items or enrollments that have, in red, anything that's 5 days plus overdue. In yellow, it's going to be 1 to 4 days overdue. And the last category we have is green, and that's anything that's current or they're on target. Notice you can click on it. It'll show you and change your dashboard based on that enrollment. So I have 63% that are in this range of 5+ items overdue. Notice they score in the range of a 0 to 49%. I can also scroll down. Notice if you scroll down, it's going to give you a student breakdown. So you can search via student's name. It's going to show me their name, the course, their current score to date, what's overdue, their progress, and to the right, I can see detail. Notice I can also export this information, or I can clear the filter just to work with all the students that I have in the system. So if I click on detail, and let me know if I'm going too fast, this will give you the progress monitoring for conferences. You can see a dashboard at a glance, what's going on with your students. Now notice at the top, it gives you the ability to see all those students' enrollment. So any course he's taking, I can view and see what's active. Notice here, the first breakdown is going to have, and I apologize that I don't have data. It's a demo page, so I don't have active students. But the first one we see is the scoring guide. This is the current score. So if the student took one assignment, got an 80, his current score would be an 80. Notice if you hover over it, it's going to show you based on what that actual title or event means. Score to date will add in a 0 for anything that's overdue. So that 80, adding in the 0, his score to date will show you items and an accurate score, including those overdue items. The relative score, this one will provide a 0 for his grade. Let's say, for example, that student stopped working today. It'll 0 out all the grades so you can see at a glance what their final grade would be if they stop working. Any questions on your score breakdown?
No.
Now to the right, this one is pretty cool. It's score by type. And what it does, it's going to show you the pass threshold and average score for that student. But notice you're going to have the different icons. You have the L, P, Q, and T, so lesson, quiz, project, and your actual test. Notice if you hover over it, it's going to show you the average attempts it takes a student to complete that category. So if I wanted to see how many attempts by average it takes little Marcus to complete a lesson, it'll show me here. It also shows you the average time it takes them to complete a lesson. So at a glance, I can use that data in a conference to show a student how they're progressing through the course.
Okay.
Moving back. And you're almost done, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
Moving down.
No, we still
You're
trying.
gonna
We're
have a
trying to
time
do
break.
it. We're trying to do it while you're talking, so it's fine.
And let's know if I'm going too fast.
No, you're good.
Now, the next one you're going to see is your time breakdown. It'll show you the last assignment completed, the last time they logged in. It's also going to show you the total time they had in Odysseyware and White, so via the minutes and the hours, and then for the past week. So this is logged in time overall in the program. And at the bottom, this is their working time or time on task. So that's going to be total on Odysseyware and last 7 days.
If
Now,
I
to the
want,
right,
if I want to see that screen for a particular student, how do I just search a student?
So to search it for the student, this is what I'm looking at now via the student. So on my dashboard, I have the student logged in. So I'm going to go back a second to show you how I got there.
Yeah, how did we get to that particular student?
So notice under report, you would go to the bottom where it says student breakdown, and I can search for that student's name. And then I would go over to details, and that would pick up that student's record.
So what if the student is not appearing? Should all students be there?
Different. It's depending on, so it'll depend on if you're an admin. It depends on if the student is currently enrolled. If they're not appearing, we'd have to look at it and see how they're listed. So now, notice on the bottom field, so I'm going to go back a second. Let's go back to the dashboard. If I go back, or I can close it out. This is showing you your active enrollment. So I can also change my controls to basically manipulate what I'm looking for, or view it by teacher if you know he's looking or he's in a teacher's class.
Okay.
But also notice, if you, let's say for example, change your field, let me turn this off. I'm going to switch it back for a second. If you change your field here, notice it's going to change or manipulate what students show up. So if I change and I show, I'm just going to go back to the movie so you can see everyone. And if I change assignment completion and I click only on red, that's going to change the view of students that you're going to see as well. So the filters you can clear, but it'll show up for any active student.
Okay.
If you need someone that's active, what you can do is go to their grade book. Now, once they're in the grade book, pull up that user. Let's say it's Nyland Dunn. If I click on search, notice now I can go over to the reports icon, and this will allow me to print out individual reports for every class included. So I can look and see. If I go down, I can look at detailed student grading. That's also going to give me information on log in, log out. And I can view it from the screen as well. Or I can go directly to the Reports tab, go back to my traditional reports, and I can run a log in, log out report for them and faculty as well.
Okay.
Now, any questions on your dashboard or this information?
Not yet.
The very last one I wanted to highlight for you was just going to be your course progress. This one's very easy. It just shows you the course when they started, how many items they have overdue, total assignments, and what they completed. Now, this information you can view in the gradebook. You can export it to print it out, or you can watch the course to guide them. Now, we are at the hour mark. I just want to see if you guys have any questions.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I thank you guys for taking the time out. The last thing I want to remind you, notice when you're signed in at the bottom of the page, there's going to be a button that says help. So I click on help here.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you the number for tech support. You can email support. They'll get back to you within 1 business day. But the most powerful piece that you have is browse resources. If you click here, notice our knowledge-based site is set up as a tutorial center, just like your actual navigation bar. You can do a keyword search or navigate to the tab that you're looking for. We have PDFs and live videos for every single thing, step by step, for our site.
Okay.
You also have my number and email me. Contact me if you need anything. I'm here to support you guys. You'll receive an email survey. Please feel free to fill it out. But other than that, I hope you ladies have a wonderful weekend. And I thank you for taking the time out to talk to me.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You guys have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.